Okay, let's talk about the conversation that nobody wants to have. You are visiting your parents for the holidays. You notice the gutters are starting to get really full. There are 3 rooms that nobody has been in the last year. And your dad just told you that he fixed the furnace himself with some duct tape and a prayer. You see your mom still climbing the stairs to go up to her bedroom in the 4-bedroom house alone. And when she does the laundry, she's carrying that laundry basket down into the dark basement with the little bare light bulb hanging. But of course, when you try to bring up the idea of downsizing, somehow they get mad at you, right? You become the problem. And if that sounds familiar, you're not alone and you're not wrong. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be having the conversation. It's just a matter of delivering the conversation in a way that they can be receptive to. And so today, I'm going to give you 7 concrete signs that it's time for your parents to start thinking about downsizing, even if they're not ready to initiate the conversation or even say it out loud that that's something that they're thinking about. So here's the thing about downsizing. The word itself is negative. Nobody wants to feel like they're going down on the socioeconomic ladder. They're feeling less important. They're getting smaller. Nobody wants that. So we have to really do it in a way that saves face, and that is talking about a trade. Maybe they're giving up something like the big house that they've had a lot of pride of ownership in for a long time. And when they give that up, they're getting something good out of it, something that works for them, and something that they can look forward to. So for example, they're trading maintenance headaches of mowing the lawn all the time to having more time at the community pool on the weekends or going golfing. They're trading those 4 bedrooms and a yard that they don't use very much for real money in the bank and a front door that they can lock and set it and forget it when they fly to Arizona for a month in the winter. And by the way, if it's within their means, that wintertime travel, the Arizona house thing is definitely a good card to play. It usually helps people start coming around because that does sound pretty good. So let's go through the 7 signs together, and you might recognize one, you might recognize all 7. But either way, keep watching because the last one is the one that most people miss, and I don't want you to miss it. So I've made a special PDF as well that you can download. It accompanies this video, and you can get it in the notes down below. There should be a link. And so you can print it out, you could review, and also use it as talking points to sort of facilitate the conversation with your folks or other loved ones, whoever you're trying to talk. Here's number 1. The house is bigger than their actual life. How many rooms do your parents actually use on a regular basis? The kitchen, the living room, the bedroom. But what about the 2 or 3 extra bedrooms from the kids that grew up 20 years ago and left the house? What about the formal dining room? Maybe that gets used once a year on Thanksgiving, never again. There's a garage with the car and it's just packed full of stuff. That's a lot of house to heat. It's to cool, to clean, to maintain, just have more than they need at this point. It was perfect when they had the growing family with 3 kids, and now we're kind of overshooting. I had a client, I'll call him Brian, up in the Snoqualmie Ridge area, and he had been living alone in a 4-bedroom house for years. He had originally bought it to house his aging parents. It had a main level bedroom with a shower and everything down on the main floor. That was really helpful for them. But they had passed years ago, and now he had the whole place to himself. And he knew the house wasn't right for his life anymore. He just wanted to downsize to something small where he could go and watch nature go by. So he was excited to retire and move on to that next step. He initiated it himself, but of course, not everybody is ready to do that. The next sign that we should really highlight is the maintenance of the home. If the maintenance is winning the battle against entropy, that's something to address. And this one tends to sneak up slowly on us. Deferred repair becomes multiple deferred repairs. We've got the gutters, the deck. Sometimes stuff needs to get done every week, every year, every other year. And those things kind of keep stacking up. The air conditioner is on borrowed time. Your parents are spending money keeping up a house that's kind of aging faster than they can manage it. Sometimes they used to do these things themselves. Sometimes they don't have the money to pay for them to get done, or sometimes they don't have the mental capacity, right, to organize, who should I call? How should I book this? Or I can't, I don't know how to repair these things the same way that I used to. So You might find yourself that you're supplementing their income to help them pay for this. Maybe you're coming over on the weekends, or when you come visit, you do a lot of chores for them. So like, these are things that maybe it's great that you can maintain your roof like that when you're 30, and maybe when you're in your 70s, it's time to not do that anymore. And I will point out here that houses can definitely be expensive. As much as we always talk about it's an investment to own a house, when the house starts to age, you have to begin hiring out the jobs you used to do if you're not able to do them yourself. And sometimes people find that they're putting $40,000, $50,000 into a repair for a house that has a lot of deferred maintenance. They could have saved that money if they could have kept up on the maintenance, or if they had sold the house sooner before it got to that point. So number 3, let's talk about the stairs. If the stairs are becoming a daily negotiation, this is a serious health risk. It's one of the biggest health hazards in the home. One of the clearest early signs of a mismatch between the house and your life is when the bedroom is on the second floor or the laundry is in the basement, and getting up and down those stairs is becoming a project. So even if your folks aren't saying anything to you about this directly, but you notice that they're avoiding tasks and trips that take them up and down the stairs, they're not taking the stairs easily, quickly, they're really gripping onto the handrail, they're pulling themselves up. A lot of times when people age, they lose the muscle mass that allows them to go about their daily tasks with ease. Sometimes you might even see people like sleeping on the couch, spending the night downstairs on the main floor so that they don't have to go and do the stairs. Okay, sign number 4 is really important. I watched a TED Talk. This was right at the beginning of COVID, and they said that being around people and interacting with people was the number one counter indicator for aging. It was a sign of healthy aging. But as we get older, we tend to see our parents become more and more socially isolated. And they have done surveys that showed that when older people move to the suburbs, they're less happy because of all of this isolation, all of these concerns. Sometimes the house itself is not the problem at all. Sometimes it's the zip code. Sometimes it's the people. Sometimes it's the community or the lack of community that you could revive in an instant if you just went ahead and moved. Sign number 5 is that you, the child, are doing more of the property management than your folks are. Are you making calls to contractors for them? Are you showing up to handle repairs? Maybe you're helping them get groceries on Instacart, healthcare appointments made. Are you doing the yard for them when you're there on vacation? So this is another sign. This is a symptom that maybe they are not willing, ready, and able to do these things themselves. It could be a signal that the house has started requiring more work than they can comfortably give it. So sometimes this can be a real source of friction in families because it's the kids that feel the weight of it. The parents might feel like everything's great because you're doing all the work, or they might feel guilty. But oftentimes people just don't talk about it directly, and it's kind of an uncomfortable thing that simmers along. So item number 6 here is the money. Money that is locked in the house that could absolutely change their standard of living in retirement. And this is very specific to the Seattle area because we have had such great price appreciation here on our homes. We often have real estate millionaires who are just limping along on Social Security checks, even though they have $1 million in equity in their home, right? They have maybe not even that much. They bought a home for $150,000. That's now worth $800,000, right? And that's a life-changing amount of money. Sometimes accessing some additional funds or being out from under the weight of the expense of your home can make a huge improvement to your ability to engage with the world around you. And I will note you can access that by selling the home, but if it's important for you to stay there, you could also get a reverse mortgage that allows you to draw money out against the equity in your home to pay for travel, food. It's not regulated what you spend the money on. There is a limited amount you can get, which will depend on the equity and the value of the property. That's expensive to set up. It costs about $15,000 to set up, but if it allows you to access, $1 million in equity from your home, it could be very well worth it when it comes to estate planning and financial planning and being able to have the money to, redo the flooring, put in the wheelchair accessible shower, put the roof on. So if you have somebody that's really wanting to stay in place and age in place, look into the reverse mortgage. I'm happy to introduce you to some folks here in Seattle who do this and will take very good care of the seniors in your life while giving them the funds they need to be able to live healthfully in their home. Okay, sign number 7 may be that your parents have already said something and then they walked it back. So this is the one that most people miss. I told you about at the beginning. So has your mom ever said offhandedly, the house is getting to be a lot for us? And then like the next time you brought it up, she acted like it never happened. Well, that's not uncommon. It's sort of like they're ambivalent. They're trying it on for size. They're putting it out there and seeing how it sounds. And it means the door is open. They're kind of thinking about it. And even if it's not wide open, it's open a crack. And, they might make some, morbid humor, right? Make a joke and laugh it off at dinner time. They might be driving through condos or senior housing communities and saying, this is kind of nice. So those moments they're actually very important. And when someone is ready to make a change like this, they often have to test the idea, sometimes for years, before they commit to it. So if you are hearing these comments from your parents, don't tell them, I heard you say this, now you have to do something, but just be very curious. What have you guys been thinking about? What conversations have you had around this topic? Be very gentle, be very curious. And at the end of the day, to protect their ego, the decision has to come from them. So you can help be a sounding board for their thinking process. You can help introduce them to new ideas and new information. But if you're forcing things upon them, it robs them of their sense of self and control and dignity in a way that a lot of people are not willing to give up. But it's something to be aware of that might be harder for them to take advice from you. And so it might be good for you not to be in the role of advisor or boss or arounder, and more of friendly questioner, supporter, empowering them to make the choices that are going to be easier for them. So if you're nodding along and kind of thinking, okay, some of this is definitely ringing true, this is my parents, now what are you going to do about it? So first, it's not a lecture. You're not trying to convince them of anything. You're not arguing with them and telling them that they're wrong. That will make them slam the door closed, right? You're trying to open the door a little wider. Most people are scared of what they don't know. We don't use the word downsize. We might say moving into a lower maintenance property or moving into a place where it's going to be easier for you to travel from. And again, that's 10 to 15 years in the future. Really, it might be 2 to 3 years in the future, but it makes it safer to have the conversation if it's something that's not as immediate. And then the hope is that once you're gathering information and you're having the conversations, then they're the ones that pull the timeline closer and say, this is starting to sound so great as I learn more and more about it. I do want to do it. I do feel more comfortable. I'm getting excited and I want to do it sooner. What I find is that once people understand what their home could be worth on the open market, what the move would look like for them, and what life on the other side of the move could look like, the decision gets a lot easier. It can be a lot of work to sell your home, especially if you've lived there for a long time. So helping them with that and having a team in place so you don't have to do everything yourself, right? It's kind of the way that I work my business. So I have actually put together a free guide for you called 7 Signs It's Time to Downsize, and you can download it. There's a link below in the show notes. It's a great thing to have in your hands when you're starting this conversation, or you can leave it with your parents after a visit and they can look at it or not, but just giving them some things to think about without any pressure in their face coming from you. The bottom line here is the best moves that I've seen families make were the ones that they planned with time on their side, on their own terms, and not ones that were forced on them by a health crisis or a financial emergency, which unfortunately are all too common in these later decades, right? So you want to have a trajectory where you have time to prepare the house for sale, time to price it right, time to find the next place that you're excited about going thoughtfully. And that window exists for your parents right now. And it may not always be there. So if you are in the greater Seattle area and you want to have a conversation about what your parents' home might be worth today and what a transition could look like, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. No pressure. They're not trying to make you make a decision. So we'll have a conversation. You can book a free call using the link below. And as usual, if this video is helpful, please subscribe so you can keep track of what we're doing. I'm doing a series that's designed to help people in these types of situations. We want to be here for you to help you and your folks with this exciting and positive time in their lives.